Welcome back to Real Clear Politics on Sirius XM. I'm Andrew Walworth. I'm here with Phil Wegman and Carl Cannon. And we do have these pardons, gentlemen. With less than 20 minutes left in his presidential term, Joe Biden pardoned 5 members of his family, including his brothers, Jim and Francis, his sister, and a couple spouses. And I just want to read you what he said about the preemptive pardons for his family members. This is what he said. He said, "I believe in the rule of law, and I'm optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics. But baseless and politically motivated investigations wreak havoc on the lives, safety, and financial security of targeted individuals and their families. Even when individuals have done nothing wrong and will ultimately be exonerated, the mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage their reputations and finances." So, Carl, I got to say, in any context, that is an incredible indictment of the legal system. How do you think the public's going to view this, and what do you think it does to Biden's legacy?
Well, it's Biden ought to know what he's talking about, because it's a pretty good description of what they did to Trump using the legal system. And your point is it reveals a level of cynicism toward the judicial branch. But they know that the reason he's so cynical about it is because they know what they did to Donald Trump. They weaponized the criminal justice system. They used lawfare for 4 years to try and take all his money, get him and put him in jail, put him in prison. Trump's not wrong when he talks about this. But the other thing about Biden's self-serving and weirdly, what I'm trying to say is lack of self-awareness about it is that it doesn't really apply to Hunter Biden. He was convicted. He was going to prison. That the system had worked its will, and he interfered at the last minute after saying for a year that he wouldn't. So, Biden's. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, Phil, there have been preemptive pardons before. I guess Jimmy Carter preemptively pardoned the Vietnam War resistors.
And Jerry Ford pardoned Nixon. Richard Nixon had not been charged yet.
But this is really something to have, 5 members of your own family. Doesn't it just make them look guilty?
That's the argument of Republicans currently. They're saying that these preemptive pardons are basically an admission of guilt. And we should note that these are pardons that extend more than a decade. They go back to January 2014 until the last day of Biden's presidency. I was refreshing the Department of Justice's website looking for these pardons. Initially, we saw the pardon of General Milley, of the January 6th committee, and also of Dr. Anthony Fauci. But it was mere minutes before Biden showed up at the U.S. Capitol when the pardons of his family dropped. And I've got to say, this is unusual for a president who said that he respected the rule of law for all the reasons that Cannon laid out with Hunter Biden. Certainly, there was a lot of evidence when it came to James Biden about him selling his influence to foreign governments to try and move the Biden family. But something did strike me from President Biden's statement, where he said, even if you're innocent and you come under investigation that can do irreparable harm to your reputation. Well, there are some anti-abortion protesters in Pennsylvania who were found innocent, but were investigated by Biden's Department of Justice for some time. And they might find those words from the outgoing president very ironic.
Carl, were you surprised that he did this pardon at the last minute like this?
No. Once he pardoned Hunter Biden, I realized you can't. There's no telling what he'll do. And these January 6th defendants, we haven't heard from all of them. My hope is that Liz Cheney will refuse this pardon. I agree that she did nothing wrong, but if you accept a pardon, to me there is, despite Biden's caveat, well, just the justice system's run amok, and even if you did nothing wrong, your reputation has been harmed. That's not what Democrats said before. It's not what Jamie Raskin said before. Jamie Raskin's a liberal congressman from Maryland who was on the January 6th committee, was one of the harshest people against Trump. When the rumors went around a few years ago that Trump was going to pardon his family, Jamie Raskin said, well, if you accept the pardon, it's an admission of guilt. Well, does he apply that standard to himself now?